good 28. It's fine. I'm good. Anyway, thank you so much for having me here. I'm going to give you a little bit of more of my story and tell you a little bit about my heart and my passion and what happened after this. So obviously this kind of is starting in the middle of my journey with cancer. I had been treated for almost a year and a half at that point, and I had just had a really hard conversation with my doctor. I had moved into my dorm at Auburn University on a Thursday, and I went back to Birmingham for my scans on Friday, and then sat in the doctor's office with my doctor, and he told me that there was nothing that was going to make my cancer go away. And we were going to try to contain it, we were going to try to keep it at bay, and we were going to try to give me a fulfilling, happy life, but that he did not know if that was going to be 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years. So he didn't give me a specific timeline, but he definitely did not say more than 6 years. So I have been encouraged a lot recently, personally and in business, the nonprofit, and in counseling and therapy, to maybe be a little more in touch with my feelings and think about like what that made me feel like. And I'm gonna just be totally honest, I did not have time to have feelings. I was like, okay, well, I got stuff to do. So you guys can figure this out, figure out what you're gonna give me, and I'm gonna go, I gotta be back at school. I have goals, I have dreams, I have plans. That wasn't the healthiest, oh wait, I know approach that, but it's what I did. And so I drove back to Auburn that afternoon and started classes that Monday. And at that time, we just were receiving a tremendous outpouring of love and support and community involvement. And people just wanted to do anything that they could to help me and to help other kids like me. And this was the launch of Open Hands, Overflowing Hearts, where we began fundraising for pediatric cancer research. I didn't know exactly what that was going to turn into. I didn't know what my role was going to be, if I was going to have a long-term role there. I didn't know, I didn't know anything, but I just knew that people were wanting to do something good, and we knew something good that people could do, and we were going to create a channel for that to happen. And in the first 3 months, again, the overwhelming support from our community, the love from family and close friends like JD. We, in the first 3 months, raised about $360,000, which was mind-blowing to my little 19-year-old self. I was like, I didn't know there was that much money anywhere, much less, in a bank account that my name is on. Like, this is crazy. And, during that time, I wrestled a lot with, I was mad. I was angry. I was not willing to get in touch with the underlying feelings of, personally, I believe the anger comes from a place of being sad, hurt, or scared. And I was all three of those things. I was sad, hurt, and scared. But easier than feeling sad, hurt, or scared was being angry. And give me a second. Ultimately, angry isn't really a healthy emotion, but you can channel anger really well. And anger can turn into passion. And anger can turn into action. And so, unfortunately, I would love to tell you that at that point, well, it was all just fine, but the story got a lot worse before it got better. And for the next, details are fuzzy, but for the next little while, I was a student at Auburn, and I was going back and forth to treatment in Atlanta, to Birmingham. I was seeing all kinds of doctors. I was on all kinds of clinical trials. The cancer was not getting any better. It wasn't ruining my life yet, but it was getting worse. It broke my back. I had to, I would be like going from Auburn to Atlanta after my morning classes in Auburn, and then coming back to Auburn that evening after getting a full round of chemo, and then going to class in the morning. I wanted to be a normal student. I wanted to just live my life. I wanted to just go on, I wanted to move on. I wanted cancer to be behind me. And all the while knowing this, my doctor doesn't think I'm going to be around for much longer. I just wrestled a lot. I didn't know what my role was. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I knew that, again, we needed to be a channel. We needed to be an avenue. So there have always been trucked along while I figured out my own personal health. And when I say trucked along, like, I cannot stress enough the amount of support that we've had, and just the love and the gracious gifts that we've had, that we've been able to, 5 years later, here we are. But I really was not super involved with OO for a long time, because I was like, this is my heart and this is my passion, but like, I've got this health thing going on that I've got to fix. Well, ultimately, it spread to my brain, and I had brain tumor after brain tumor after brain tumor after brain tumor after brain tumor. And I had a brain tumor in January of 2016. It was giving me, I at that point had 4 before, so I knew what they were like, and I knew that this was a brain tumor. And I went to the hospital, and they operated the next morning, removed the brain tumor. That was my second brain surgery. And when I woke up from surgery, my doctor said, hey, we need to have a conversation about what you're doing, like what you want to do. Because the reality is, he's very vague, but it was, the reality is, this is the reality, that this is your second brain surgery and we need to figure out what you want. And through tears, sitting next to my boyfriend of 5 years, I was like, I just want to marry Austin. And he said, through tears also, which he may not admit, he said, this is an actual conversation. It's not just the drugs talking. Yes, like we do want to get married, blah, blah, blah. So, a couple weeks later, honestly, we didn't really do much about it at that moment, because we were like, oh, she's getting better. I'm, healing from brain surgery. Well, during that time, the radiation oncologist had been working on a radiation plan, because at that point, it took a long time to get a radiation plan together. I had a lot of radiation in my brain, and it was a whole ordeal. So during those 2 weeks, the talk of, hey, let's get married kind of fizzled, because it didn't seem so urgent when I was healing and getting better. But about 12 days after that brain surgery, I woke up with these same exact symptoms. I went back to the hospital, and the same tumor had regrown in the same spot to the same size that it had just been removed. And starting about when I got to the hospital and they, put me on medication, there was about a 10-day period there that I don't remember. My brain just wasn't making memories, it wasn't functioning fully, and so the part that I'm about to tell you really doesn't come from me, it comes from other people telling me about what happened. But they said, we're not going to do another brain surgery. It didn't work, it didn't go well. Ultimately higher risk than benefits, because the first one was already really high risk, and doing it again means just elevating that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on with that radiation therapy that we had already been planning, and then we're going to let you go home, and we're going to let you be comfortable, and we're expecting you to have a little more than a month, maybe no more than 2. And I was unaware of this completely. I was not sitting up on my own. I couldn't speak, I couldn't use my hands, I couldn't walk. And so my family was obviously heartbroken. And Austin, my now husband, was like, okay, so now's the time. Like, we're not gonna delay this anymore. So, again, I had no clue. So when I started to recover a little bit and get better, during that period of me not really remembering much, Austin and my dad took me to a naturopathic doctor, and I'll spare you all the details of that, but basically my dad said, I don't like that plan. There's more that we can do. We can try more. We can go farther. There's no reason to give up. And one of the best things that my dad has ever said to me, because my doctor always started his conversations with, let's be realistic. My dad would always say to me after those conversations, we are under no obligation to be realistic. So my dad and my then boyfriend took me up to this naturopathic doctor, and he laid out this whole ordeal of a lifestyle change and a diet change and everything that I was going to eliminate from my life that loved dearly, like sugar. And I was going to add in all these amazing things for me, like all of these vitamins and supplements and all of these vegetables and juices and etc. Well, I had a couple more brain tumors that grew very, very small, very, very slowly. And I radiated those in April while I was still on this whole naturopathic journey. And Austin and I got married in May, and I never even told anybody about those tumors because I was like, they don't matter. They're not, those aren't ruined. I'm not gonna allow that to ruin my life, just like every other part of cancer has. So we got married in May, and that was in 2016. It's not that recent, but I am still accepting wedding gifts. Anyway, so that, that's sometimes when I tell my story, I'm like, so how do you like wrap that up? Like that's a big chunk of information and feelings and it's just a lot to kind of digest. And so I don't really know how to tell you now, well, this is my story and there you go. But I will tell you that what it has taught me, like what I have learned and how I have grown and how I have changed. So one of the biggest things that through all of that, which is overwhelming for me to even think about, I think about the days when I was sick and in treatment and chemo, in the hospital, and I think about these kids that I have known and loved for years, and over half of them are not alive anymore. And I think about those first days when I was scared. I think now when I meet families, I see myself in their eyes. I met a girl the last weekend who was 19 and she was just diagnosed, and I looked at her and she was asking me questions about whether or not her eyelashes would fall out. And I was like, I just can't explain to you how much I know where you are. If there's one thing that I could say I learned through all of this, it's a whole lot of things matter far less than we think they do, and just a few things matter way more than we think they do. I mean, it just, your car won't start this morning, like, oh, that's a bummer. And now I get that because, hey, I'm like, I don't have cancer anymore. Like, my car is sometimes the biggest problem I have, and that's great. But like, when my car won't start, I think, obviously, like everyone, I'm like, I'm gonna be late, this is ruining everything. And then I think, Lauren is wondering if her eyelashes are gonna fall out because of chemo. And I'm having an okay day, you know? So, OO, obviously, is why I'm here. OO continued to grow through all of that, through the journey of me figuring out what my role is. Who am I? Am I Kayla with cancer? Because I don't really want to be that. But am I Kayla with a nonprofit foundation? I don't really know that if I want to be that either. Am I Kayla who can provide hope for people? Yes, I do want to be that. Am I Kayla who can remind people of what really matters in life? I do want to do that. And so I've been trying to figure out like where I am and where I fit in our nonprofit organization that has a very clear purpose, which is funding research to end childhood cancer. And like, what does Kayla do there? So where I am now is I feel like my role is to connect with families and to sit with them and to hear their stories and to share their stories the same way I shared mine. My story, though I had no idea why, I mean, at the time I was like, why does anybody want to read about this? It somehow it clicked with people. Like people knew me and cared about me that I never knew existed. People were praying for me all over the world because they knew my story. And so what I see my role now being is, one, hearing stories and feeling with those families, feeling with those kids, and two, sharing stories. So, again, this is not like here's a pretty bow, wrap that up, put it on your Christmas tree, but I'm so thrilled to be here to share with you my story. I love it. Any opportunity that I get to be real with people and acknowledge the hard stuff that I've been through, but the direction that it pushes you when you go through hard things. Because I have a story, but so does everyone else, and everyone's story is a little different. Hopefully, not everybody has to deal with a pediatric cancer or cancer in general, but the point is not what the story is. The point is how you allow it to shape you and change you and propel you forward. So OO has been, honestly, kind of where I've found my sense of purpose in all of this, where I've found that I can channel my energy and channel my passion, and make a change that matters, make a change that is deeper than what I ever thought I wanted for my life, honestly. And JD and Southeast Mortgage have been a huge part of that. He and my dad met on third grade, on the swing set in third grade. And so I'm pretty sure, I don't know, did you meet me the day I was born or something?
Pretty close there.
Pretty close, okay. So that's why JD brought me here, is because he, while he's humble and may not admit it, he's been a key player in this whole story as well. And I hope that by sharing my story, I can remind just one person that you also have a story and that you have a purpose, and there's so much room for the hard things that you're going through to bloom and blossom into something beautiful and far more important than you could ever dream for your own life. And I think that's pretty much just what I wanted to share with you guys. We are still fundraising, so if you want to talk to the girl in the pink sweater, she'll ask you for money. That'll be fun. Anyway, I wanted to just say thank you to you guys for Southeast Mortgage's support and for your personal support. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but when I can visibly see people watch a video like this and care, it means something to me personally. We have done a lot of videos since this one, but this is JD's favorite because it's the original. And so it was important that we shared that one today. And thank you guys so much for having me and for being involved here.